The M-19 tank transporter is designed for the transportation of recovered materiel from collecting points or of new tanks and equipment to the using troops, as well as for a general cargo carrier. It consists of a 90,000-pound trailer pulled by a special 6x4 prime mover. This prime mover is powered with a 6-cylinder, 201 horsepower liquid-cooled diesel engine. The 24-volt starting motor is driven by 4 6-volt batteries, operating in series when the series parallel starting switch is depressed. This 12-volt generator keeps the batteries properly charged. The braking system of the truck and trailer is supplied by this 3-cylinder belt-driven air compressor. The heart of the diesel engine is the fuel system, which delivers clean, atomized fuel to the combustion chamber. The essentials of this system are the filter, the governor, the transfer pump, and the injector pump. The fuel is supplied by 2 62½ gallon fuel tanks located outside the frame rail just below the cab on each side of the truck. Having previously determined that the fuel in the right tank is low, the driver shuts off the 2 valves on that side and opens both valves of the left tank. The changeover from one tank to the other should be made before the fuel level gets below 1/8 full to ensure the proper fuel supply at all times and to eliminate the possibility of air in the lines. It is imperative that the fuel tank level switch be set to indicate which tank is in use. The circuit switch is located in the center of the dash. The starter switch is on the floor. When the engine is running, the fuel oil pressure gauge should register approximately 10 pounds. Next to this gauge is the windshield wiper button. And on the extreme left of the dash is the primer for cold weather starting. The lubricating oil pressure should be 45 pounds at 1600 RPM when the oil is hot. At 1200 RPM, it should be 38 to 40 pounds. This gauge indicates the condition of the crankcase lubricant. In addition to these gauges and switches, there are the conventional water temperature gauge, ammeter, speedometer, and light switches. There is also a tachometer, which is used to indicate engine revolutions. The red set hand indicates the maximum speed at which the engine has been operated. The lock directly below the gauge prevents this hand from being reset by the driver, thus enforcing safe engine speeds. It is important that the air pressure gauge read at least 70 pounds before the vehicle is put in motion. When the pressure drops to 45 pounds or less, the air pressure buzzer sounds to warn the driver. When the buzzer sounds, the vehicle must be halted immediately, as air pressures below 50 pounds will not adequately brake the vehicle. This brake pedal controls the air braking system and should be depressed gradually to permit a smooth brake application. It is equipped with a lock to hold the pedal in the depressed position. The handbrake is designed as a parking brake only. and should not be used as a service brake. A hand air valve on the steering column controls the trailer brakes. To stop the engine, press this stop switch until the engine stops. The auxiliary transmission provides 3 speed ranges: overdrive, direct drive, and low. The main transmission is the conventional truck type, operating through 4 forward speeds. To shift into reverse, engage the catch and move the gear shift lever right and to the rear. To operate the winch, it is first necessary to set and lock the foot brake. Release the handbrake and disengage the clutch. Then check the auxiliary gear shift lever to be sure it is in neutral. And engage the power takeoff gears with the auxiliary transmission by means of the power takeoff lever. This lever is held in the disengaged position by a lock on the shaft. Now, to remove possible tension on the winch line, the main transmission must be shifted into reverse and the clutch engaged momentarily. Again disengaging the clutch, shift the main transmission into the desired gear. By pushing to the rear the air control valve mounted on the winch, the clutch is held in the disengaged position. The winch is operated entirely from outside the cab. The driver first engages the jaw clutch and releases the winch brake, then operates the air control lever to engage the power clutch, simultaneously opening the remote throttle control. The cable can be either wound or unwound in this way by shifting the main transmission. This torque control mechanism is provided to prevent overloading the winch. When the maximum safe line pull is exceeded, the mechanism actuates a solenoid, which cuts off the fuel and stops the engine. Free spooling is necessary in order to pay out the cable. This is accomplished by disengaging the jaw clutch and then releasing the winch brake. As the winch line is pulled out, a slight pressure must be maintained on the winch brake to keep the line tight on the spool. The winch line must always be rewound under pressure. This can be accomplished by pulling a heavy vehicle or by anchoring the cable and pulling the prime mover with it. To prevent damage to the cable, it must be guided as it is wound, aligning it properly on the spool. The winch line runs between these 2 rollers, which allow a free movement and minimize wear and the danger of damaging the cable. The cable clamp at the end of the winch line will lodge between the rollers at the rear of the truck when the cable is completely wound, and the line is held taut by the winch brake. Included in the auxiliary equipment of the M-19 tank transporter is this air hose for inflating tires. It operates off the air reservoir tank and is connected by removing the cap. Screwing the hose coupling onto the outlet and turning the valve to the horizontal position. For maximum operating efficiency, drivers must check the tires frequently. 80 pounds of pressure is recommended for the tires on the prime mover. The standard tools for this unit are an 8-ton hydraulic jack and handle, an engine timing crank, a trouble light and grease gun, an engine lifting eye, a bearing nut wrench, a lug wrench and handle, an automobile wrench, and a 12-inch crescent wrench, 4 open-end wrenches, a hammer, screwdriver, and pliers. The body of the truck can be used for carrying cargo or can be filled with ballast to give increased traction for hard pulls. The low bed trailer of the M-19 transporter has a net weight of 20,000 pounds and a capacity of 90,000 pounds. The maximum operating speed is 25 miles per hour empty and 20 miles per hour loaded. This drawbar is the means of coupling the tractor to the prime mover. In coupling, it must be guided until the swivel eye is inserted in the spindle hook on the truck and securely locked in place. The trailer air hoses may now be inserted into the connections on the rear of the prime mover and the valves opened, supplying air to the trailer braking system. The electric cable supplying current for the clearance and tail lights is also connected to the prime mover. Now that the trailer is completely coupled to the truck, the trailer hand brakes may be released. This one is for the rear wheels. This one is for the front wheels. The trailer has 24 wheels mounted on 6 independent axles. The 8 1/4 by 15 tires are on semi-drop center rims and must be maintained at 100 pounds pressure. The spares are carried in the bed of the trailer and are removed from below. An anchored sheave block is mounted in the center trough, and together with a movable sheave block is used to decrease the required direct pull of the winch in loading heavy vehicles. 2 triangular-shaped ramps are attached to the rear of the trailer. When not in use, they are held in place by ramp tie-down bolts and are hinged to enable them to be readily set for loading. Four movable chock blocks are located on the runways to hold the vehicle to be transported in place on the trailer. They are removed by unscrewing the wing nut on the hook bolt inside the chock. The trailer is now ready for the vehicle to be loaded. The only precaution is to align it perfectly before starting up the ramps and to be sure that the center of the weight of the vehicle is directly over the center of the load mark on the trailer. The vehicle must be driven all the way forward and the ramps raised. The ramps are used as the rear chock blocks with this tank so that the weight can be centered on the trailer. Now the tank is backed until it rests against the ramps. This centers the load as nearly as possible over the center of the trailer. The chock blocks are now replaced, fitting them snugly against the track of the tank. While the tank driver emerges from the tank and starts to button it up, the 2 extra chuck blocks are put into the ballast body. The equipment for lashing the tank on the trailer is kept in the trailer toolbox. Turnbuckles are provided for tightening the heavy chains that are used to lash the tank on the trailer. Chain hooks are provided for fastening the chains to the tank and trailer. All hatches on the tank must be closed, and the chuck blocks must be checked to be sure they are tight. The rest of the crew goes to the rear to help get out the lashing equipment. The trailer toolbox also contains a lug wrench, a wheel wrench, and hydraulic jack. Part of the equipment is taken forward to lash the front of the tank, and the rest is left and used to lash the rear. One of the men climbs up on the tank to attach the chain to the lifting ring of the tank. He hooks a clevis through the ring and then pins it to the chain hook. A chain is next handed up and placed in the chain hook, leaving enough slack to easily connect the turnbuckle. Now one of the tank clevises will be needed to fasten the turnbuckle to the chain. The other end is coupled to a D-ring on the trailer. When this is done, all that remains is to take up the slack in the chain and tighten the turnbuckle. The turnbuckle wrench is held in place on the side of the trailer by a spring clamp. On the front of the tank, the turnbuckles are pinned directly to the towing lugs and are connected to the trailer by chains and chain hooks. There's a lock and cotter pin for each turnbuckle to prevent its working loose under tension. The squad leader is responsible for the job, and so is carefully checking the work to be sure that the tank is securely lashed to the trailer. Satisfying himself that the rigging is all right, he directs the crew to get in the ballast body, and the unit is ready to take this good tank to the crew of the disabled tank they are to evacuate from the field. Extra care in lashing the tank before leaving the relative safety of the motor park will make it unnecessary to stop and tighten it on the open road, where it may not be as safe.
Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you like more informative content, check my main channel as well, where you can find in-depth videos about historical weapons, vehicles and events. See the link in the description.